I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. It is Tuesday, October 8th, 2019. You are at the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell County Courthouse. And we have an agenda before us, and we do have one slight change, being that Shannon has a co-worker who is ill, that she would like to get back to her position quickly. So we're going to let Shannon move in right after approving of the minutes and the claims. So other than that, does anybody else have any issues, changes?
So move.
Second.
Stanley's made a motion, Barb has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approve the minutes of October 1st meeting and claims.
On the claims, we had an Osage towing for over $2,000. There was no invoice. I did talk to Sheriff Beaver about it this morning. I have no problem. He said what was basically done in that, although in the future we have to have an invoice with all of the claims. We should not be approving anything without an invoice.
Good catch.
The other thing, Pomp's Tire from Albert Lee, that was under secondary roads. What are you buying from tires out of county that we can't get in the county? I'm just curious.
I have to look, but they're giving us a good discount on tires.
Well, I mean, if it's a major...
I don't know if they're motor grader tires or if they're truck tires, I'd have to look. I think it's truck tires, we blew a couple out, and they've been giving us good discounts. I don't know if they're strictly at Albert Lee, but I know that's what they're doing.
Well, this one was from Albert Lee.
Yeah. But we're getting the discounted tires. So, I mean, we can look around more. I know we've been getting them, we get them everywhere.
No, but I mean...
North Iowa Tire in Mason City, we've done local business too, so it's...
I'm not just
Could
That
curious.
shop, we try to get the best deal on tires.
Could you, with the deal that they're giving, maybe throw
Yeah, we can
back
check.
to Mitchell County and see if they can match it at least?
I mean, we've been buying tires there for quite a while, so I'm just surprised now is,
Well, I just happened to catch it today that...
okay. Yeah, we're trying to get the best bang for our buck.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Do we have any
Also
motion?
move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Barb is-
And the claims.
And the claims with, yeah, the claims as is, since we.
Barb has made a motion to approve the minutes and the claims. Stanley has seconded. Roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stan?
Aye.
Smollett? Aye. First on the agenda, consideration of balanced special assessment fee.
Just was running reports just for quick data and to find out where we were at the end of the month. And discovered that balanced special assessment had not been paid, which not like them. They had paid their taxes, not the special assessment. So I contacted them and the statements, we did have the special assessment address, was the Libertyville, Illinois address. It's no longer current. And the property taxes went to Walnut Creek, California. So I called them on the 1st. I called the plant here in Osage. She contacted the main office, and I emailed them a copy of the bill. And that, they already cut a check that afternoon and FedExed it, so we got the check on the 2nd. So I'm asking that the special assessment penalty of $16,132 be waived. I'm not allowed to do that, you guys have to do that, but they did pay it within a day, and they never did receive the special assessment bill. So.
Yeah, I see no problem. Maybe you want discussion first, but.
Yeah, Stanley, comments?
No problem.
Yeah, I so move to waive their fees.
Okay, Barb has made a motion.
Second.
Stanley has seconded. Roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smollett, aye. So, there, that was quick.
Just FYI that when we get that special assessment collections, we only have 1.6% left to collect, which they're only doing this fall. So that's really good. For mobile homes, we have out of 44 receipts, 33 are receipted, so 21% left to receive. Overall property taxes, we have receipted 97.2%. We have 2.8 left to receive, which is 649 tax receipts out of 10,600. So did pretty good. We receipted $12.3 million in taxes so far since in the last 6 weeks. Some of that is next half. Some people are generous and give us both halves right away. So.
Well, with all of that, a lot of that goes to the school and other.
We, our treasurer's orders that we send out, we have to disperse the money when we receive it in a month within 14 days, and we do have 6.2 million going out in treasurer orders, so 50% of that is going out in treasurer's orders. So, yeah, we don't keep all that, but we're
No,
just a
but it
pass-through.
makes-
Yeah, it's not ours, we collect it for everyone, so, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you for the update.
Yep.
Moving on, Sheriff's Department. Greg. let you
Good
have-
morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Real briefly, we have 3 this morning. We had a deputy hurt last night in an arrest, back injury, so he's on days off now anyway. We'll see what it looks like when he comes back to work Saturday.
Okay.
So that's probably the biggest thing you need to know at this point. We worked through that.
Was it a
claims.
local?
Yes.
That you
Yeah.
fought with?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and he's been in jail numerous times, so got a mental health issue, and when he off his meds or whatever, things happen. So anyway, we'll work through that. We got the claims thing squared away with Osage towing. I really don't have anything else. The property down in New Haven's, that's cleaning up, starting this morning. Sounds like the property owner is moving everything to the back of his house, thinking that the county can't get to the back of his house. So we'll see how that all plays out. It'll change hour by hour, but we just will get it done.
We'll get it done.
Yeah. So clock's running on that. We're there, and we just will stay there till it's done.
All right, is there
What are
anything?
the 3 in for?
Domestic abuse and interference overnight, and then we're still holding 2 for court, probation, parole violation, verifications. Yeah. So
All righty.
that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yep. Thank you guys.
County engineer. Richard.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Not a whole lot this morning. I think last time I talked to you guys, we were talking about the bridge deck patching. Well, I just got word that they're gonna come back in and try to do that Otrano Bridge yet this year. They must have had an opening, so possibly next week they'll start sawing and doing some patching. It won't be completely closed. I don't think they'll try to keep it open to half width while they're doing it. It'd probably take a week of work time, but that's weather dependent, obviously, so that's going on. The Statesville Bridge is kind of coming up out of the dirt finally. I mean, it's been, I think last week, I kind of gave you an indication they had the box culverts in. Now they've got the riprap in, and we've got some bank stuff done. So now it's a matter of backfilling with rock, and the paving contractor will come on in here in the next few days and start fine grading and doing some other work. But all weather dependent, obviously. It doesn't sound good for later in the week as far as temperatures go to pouring concrete, but hopefully that's just a little hiccup in the weather, and we've got several days left to go before we really need to worry about plows and salt. So that's about all I've got for you this morning, unless you guys have some questions on anything else.
A few weeks ago, we authorized Austin to go to some schooling,
Okay.
and he was to report back. I don't believe he's reported back to us.
All right. I'll ask him about it.
Would you ask him to come in next week?
Yep. I know he's been out with cedar this last few days, trying to seed everything that we've been digging in ditches, so he's been awfully busy. with
Yeah,
stuff,
they were
too.
having troubles with it plugging yesterday.
So, yeah, I can talk to him.
Okay. Barb, you have anything for Richard?
I don't.
I do not have anything that I can't talk about at another time.
Okay.
So,
Thank you kindly.
thank you. Moving on, consideration of We Saints Day Care request. And I guess you must be Mrs. Menace? Hi.
My name's Megan Porish.
Okay, Megan Ford.
Rose isn't able to be here today. She had to fill in the classroom. There's some illness going around, and her subs were already filling classroom space, and so she, as the director, had to step in this morning, so.
Okay. Well, we give you the floor.
Okay. Well, We Saints Daycare is a nonprofit daycare, community daycare in St. Ansgar. And over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of community and county discussion about daycare availability. And in recent months, it came to light that there may be an opportunity to purchase adjacent land. And with that being said, a few people started talking about the opportunity to expand, for future expansion at the daycare. And so, and looking at past meetings and past requests being granted to other county daycares, we wanted to request something similar, a similar financial request for our daycare.
Okay.
And I had sent the request to Mr. Tesh. I don't know if you all have a copy. Okay. And so We Saints Daycare is asking for $150,000 to purchase adjacent property and to design, engineer, and construct a building for future expansion.
Any thoughts,
Okay.
comments?
Well, I have some questions, and then I definitely have thoughts on what I would be interested in helping with, but, have you guys asked other people yet? What other avenues have you explored as far as, getting funds?
Well, in the request, we do have funds saved. Yeah, we do have savings matching the request. So that would be, with the matching funds, that would be a good amount to get started on the project. But we have not.
You haven't tried for like grants or?
Not at this time.
Okay, yeah, I kind of, it sounds like maybe you're not far enough along even for
Correct.
that kind of thing.
Correct.
I have a lot of information even from the Osage daycare, if you wanna talk later as far as possible grants that you could get, let me know.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
Your population of St. Ansgar is about a third of Osage's, and while this decision to give Osage $150,000 in the past I wasn't here for that, I do think that it would only be fair that we would help with other communities too. But I also got details from them as far as, like you had mentioned even, which I loved all your statistics as far as how many kids and how many zip codes you serve, all that kind of thing, but you are less than half of what Osage is. And so in my mind, I'm thinking that down the road, not necessarily right now, it's gonna have to go through next year's budget, and we would have to have more detail from you too, so I wouldn't even say for sure. But in my mind, I think maybe helping with half of that amount. Like I said, you are serving less than half of what they are here, and I know, and they're growing too. Anyway, other comments?
Stanley?
The one thing that I think we keep ignoring is that basically we would probably have to take a look at TIF money in order to do this. And because we don't have any other accounts that a big pot of money right now. The only pot of money that we do have is TIF. And basically, all of this TIF money is being generated. You draw a line from St. Ansgar to Riceville, it's all being generated north of that line. And we have been very generous to the Osage area. We have done 2.5 miles of roads inside of the city limits that we really wouldn't have had to do. We've done $57,000 worth of trails in Osage. We have, like you say, done $150,000 for daycare. And I realize all of this money is not TIF money. We also gave $100,000 to the CRC that really Osage was the biggest beneficiary of the CRC money. We do have a big need for daycare. I really would like, probably at this time, we all got a letter from Lindsay Falk, and I'd like Lindsay to comment on part of what is in his letter and why daycare is necessary, why it helps our businesses and that. It's more than just taking care of kids. And would you be willing to do that, Mr. Falk?
Well, I think you guys all got the letter, and it is true when you're trying to hire, new employees from outside the area, is what we have to do because of our low unemployment rate, that housing, workers, those are the big issues. And when we're trying to bring people from outside in, obviously if they have a family, which is who you're, targeting, because they're gonna set their roots down, if they've got a family and try and make a life here and a home here, one of their first concerns, because they're both looking to work, is daycare. And we've been short for a while of space and obviously help. And I think with some of the things that you guys have approved has really got the momentum going, and there's gonna be more people from outside coming into our area, which is great, which we're hoping to do. But this is kind of one of the main things that's holding us back right now is the daycare. And if we don't have the daycare availability, that's one more person that can't be working in our workforce where we're already hurting. And also they might decide to, even if they work in our county, they may live, in a surrounding town outside of our county. It's a very real possibility.
I don't think there's any concern about the need for daycare.
Right.
It's ultra important. I actually helped start Osages, so I'm a firm believer in that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think that's the problem. And as far as Stan's comment about that we would have to use TIF, I would rather use, but this would have to be next year, out of our local option tax.
No, we could actually do that now.
I don't think there's enough in there now. I asked
According to
on,
what the treasurer said.
I asked on that. It didn't
Well-
sound like there was enough.
What are your plans? Here, that's my question. What are your plans? What's your timeline? What do you got going? What are you gonna do? What is your guesstimate of what you need total? Have you got into any of that yet?
I guess with the ask today, if approved, it was going to be the catalyst to
Because
proceed.
I think if you don't have a game plan, an idea of what you're building, then, this meeting could be held later down the road. What should, would be a nice idea of your financials, and, would give us a little indication that also as to what could be addressed in the future too. But that's one thing that my thought was is, what are you building? How much is it gonna cost? What's your plans? I know you're full, correct?
That's correct.
And you're turning people away.
Yes.
I've done that. I went and searched that. And that's I got that information from somebody that was chewing on me that you don't need the money. So somebody helped you out there. Would be nice to know the cost. And, also your, support of the community. And Lindsay's helping. I'm sure your community is helping. It's nice to see support, financial support from members in the community, because daycare is a community thing, whether it's Osage, Stacyville, or St. Ansgar. I guess, and all three of us have different opinions of things. Stanley's more progressive. I'm tighter than the bark on a tree. Barb's in the middle. She described that in the paper here. We all have different ideas, and I guess in my mind, it's a community thing, a community need. I went along with the Osage daycare begrudgingly. I went along with the Stacyville because of the mistake of going along with the Osage one. And the bitter taste in my mouth is from the Stacyville is that the money we gave, even though it was only, what, 30,000?
26,600.
26,000. We were told they didn't have any money, and we were told that this daycare needed this money to become compliant with the state's requirements on their food. Well, come to find out, they didn't need it. It ended up more on the order of being towards the community center of Stacyville. It really didn't help the daycare, so we put money and foolishly away there. So it'd be nice to have a idea of what your plans are. How much, what's the building gonna cost? What do you need? What do you have in donations or from grants or from businesses? Getting help from the community too is a big thing too. Basically what I'm saying is we got ourselves here, my opinion, and I can be wrong, is that the county has got itself into something that it probably shouldn't have gotten into. Even though each community needs daycares, and we have supported too, probably will support you. But there are some things in the community that should be assessed or brought up within that area, the city, the community. And daycare is a needed thing. We all need a daycare. I went through it with my family. But government shouldn't be involved in it as much as this county gets involved in things. My opinion. Can be totally wrong.
You're wrong.
Anyway.
Basically, the Iowa Code, one of the things the Board of Supervisors is restricted to do in the Iowa Code is economic development initiatives, and this is an economic development initiative. So, like I say, I think in that respect.
But that can be read, that can have different opinions as to how it's read.
I understand.
Anyways.
But Auditor Tisch, we make a payment on the courthouse here the 1st of November, is that correct, I believe?
Approximately around then.
Okay, and part of that payment is utilizing TIF money. Part of that payment is utilizing the 1 cent option sales tax. Is that correct?
I can't answer that at this moment.
Okay. Well, I would suggest right away that what we can do, because we already have approved of utilizing tax increment financing for making courthouse payments here, we could make all of the payment out of the TIF fund, therefore freeing up monies from the 1 cent option sales tax that then could be utilized here for this project.
I'm against spending any more in TIF.
Then where would you get the money from?
I said local option next year.
But if we're using local option for the courthouse payment, then
No, there should be enough that is left over. If I've been told correctly.
You have a comment.
I just have a comment, probably, well, I guess I'm disappointed that we're not taking a stand to fight for kids and for our family and our community. TIF money, whatever, I would like to see the board move right now and say, we'll approve the funding of $150,000, and it'd be our job to find the money, whether it's from TIF or from something else, but give us the direction to move on so we can go, our community will support it. St. Anne's supports things, they support their kids. So don't set us back, give us the option to move on. Thank you.
I would be fine with saying half of the amount and promising it, but for next year, because we don't have it in the budget right now.
I guess I'm saying take TIF money then.
Okay. I have too many people telling me they don't want us to use any more TIF or anything.
I have people telling me the other side to use TIF money.
Okay. Well, and people can certainly come and express that to me, so I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just have a comment, just in general, with St. Ansgar Economic Development, the We Saints Daycare has been, at Luke Borish, and the We Saints Daycare has been in existence for 25 years. It has a track record of fundraising within the community. It's been a complete community daycare. It's not starting from scratch. It's not looking for, you know, the final piece in the puzzle to make this whole complicated situation work. It's just a well-functioning daycare that's looking for funding to expand its services for a need, an established need. It has a track record of making the right kinds of additions. It's done the right things to be compliant. It's fiscally responsible. It's fiscally conservative. It saves money. It can raise money. It adds the right types of facilities. So, you know, I know there's a lot of hang up on, you know, what exactly the money would be maybe exactly used for or pay for, who else is contributing, but I think the track record exists in this case.
I'm actually not concerned about that. I think St. Ansgar's always come together as a community. I'm not worried about that.
Sure.
Crystal.
How many kids would it be able to hold after the expansion?
Our director was not able to attend today because she had to cover a classroom. And so I could get that information if the board was interested in that, but she wasn't able to attend today. And she would know that information.
Thank you.
And that would be part of the, you know, more information would help up here in the future. But
Is there a criteria, I mean, are there certain criteria that you need to make,
well,
just to
again,
fulfill the request?
how many more children would you be able to, you know, with an expansion, how many more children are you going to be able to bring in? Again, the building, you know, and the financial part, that also helps in decision making. What do you have, you know? Lindsay.
Just want to kind of add, I know you weren't on the board, and if we are going to compare, which was a little bit, I'm not sure if that's right we're doing or not, but if you are going to compare the towns, you're going to compare the daycares. I don't know if the financials of Osage Daycare were brought up in the past. I don't wanna,
That's a mistake, and that was kind of what I led into when I discussed about, we didn't research what was going on in
Right.
Stacyville. And I made a mistake.
well, again, I'm talking of Osage as well.
Well,
And
that was
but
my
if-
first day on, as being a
Yeah.
board member, so I was up here, absolutely didn't have a brain.
So I think it is fair to ask for the financials for St. Ansgar Daycare, which is very strong. And this isn't looking to save a daycare, this is looking to expand a very functional daycare. So I think that's to be taken into account. And also, you know, when you're talking about the county as a county, employer, I guess I don't compare the size of the towns to what we're given.
And I chose not to use that. I chose to just compare how many kids they were serving and
Sure.
zip codes.
And so I'd be a little bit concerned, I guess, as a supporter of this, to have you guys take action today, because I don't feel that the 75,000 would be fair, because I think that we might have a plan that could possibly exceed what Osage is having. So maybe we need to be a little bit careful to not just jump into some money today, because if that's one of the criteria, is how many kids are gonna be served. I'm not so sure that our expansion wouldn't serve more than what's being served in the Osage
See,
daycare.
I'm going by what it is currently, because you can only guess what you're gonna have. And even Osage, they're gonna keep growing too, but that's only guesses. So I'm literally just going by current numbers.
I don't know what the rest of the people, you know, that are supporting the daycare field, but I mean,
I guess it'd just be nice to know what the criteria for funding would be then.
Well, how much are you expanding? How many more kids are gonna be coming compared to what you have now? What do you plan on spending? You know, it would be nice to know what you have got going. What is your timeline? Is this something that's gonna start, you're gonna have a shovel go in the ground tomorrow? Or is it gonna be 2 years from now?
And I think echoing a little what Lindsay said, I sit on a county board with the hospital that's been involved with the daycare in Osage also. And, you know, those aren't necessarily questions that have been required of other, you know, groups outside of, you know, none of that information is generally required when it's in town, but when it's out of town, it seems like maybe there's more questions.
Oh, I think Steve's just feeling burnt from
Sure.
Stacyville,
Okay,
from not being completely, feeling like we weren't completely
sure,
told the truth.
okay.
And I guess, in all reality, and being in front of that camera, on my first day as being supervisor, being caught between Joe and Stan in here, and somebody standing at the podium going, you gotta do this, you gotta make this county work, and we've got to stand together. And I got, in my mind, I went along with something that I wouldn't have.
Sure.
And being that I did go along with that, I felt obligated to go along with Stacyville. Now, do you have a need for daycare? I know you do. My problem in my mind is it the county's responsibility? You know, it's the county's responsibility on housing. It's the county's responsibility on employees. What is the county not responsible of? Russia and China has free housing, free daycare, and all kinds of employees, and they all live in the same kind of house, but we're different here. So I have different opinions and different ideas. You can tell that. Yeah, I know you do need daycare, but when does it become, you know, all these issues, when does it become the county's problem? But anyways, moving on.
Well, I do have a question for Barb. If you don't want to use TIF, what are we ever going to use TIF for then?
Well, we're already using it for recreation and roads
Yeah, but that's all you wanna ever use it for then?
at the moment. Might change, but at the moment, yes.
And again, if you want to do some soul searching and doing some checking up on, giving us an idea of timeline and what you're gonna do and what you need, that might help on this up here in a decision.
I actually, you had asked the question, kind of what our criteria is, and I always have it in this envelope and I cannot find it. We kind of came up with something last year, and I don't remember what it says through Mark Walk. It had something to do with serving the community. Is that the one?
That was provided to Megan.
Yeah, well, basically, they're asking for information, your name, address, the amount, the public purpose that will be served, that's a big one. And then they wanna know if they're 501(c)(3), we want a copy of that, and a copy of, the previous year's 990 tax return, and a copy of the current balance sheet. So this is something that we are giving out to everybody to try to make it more fair, that we aren't just, well, gee, giving, to whatever. And then he literally says, it should have a public purpose that it's being served.
Well, this does have a public
And
service.
that's why I'm for it.
I do have that tax return and a copy of the current balance sheet if you would like to see that today.
Well, I'm guessing Steve would want that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I think the daycare fits all criteria. I mean, I even made a little note to myself that I came across something and it said, will this do the most good for the most people? Yes, I say it answers that. Is it, are we doing the best part for the common good of all? Yes. Is it our best self? Yes. The only one I would question is this a fair distribution of benefits? And the fact that we gave Osage that's serving double the people, 150, that's half.
Okay. So that's your determination of fair.
Yeah,
is
and
based
I
on
don't know
the
if that's
number
right or
of
not, but
children
that
served.
was all I could come up with
Okay.
to try to make it fair.
I thought it was said we weren't looking at numbers. Didn't you say that a few minutes ago?
I don't care what that money is actually gonna go for, because I know it's going for the daycare. I don't care which area of the daycare it's going towards. And I am comfortable that, like Steve is asking, he would like to see who else is all contributing, that kind of thing. I'm not as concerned about that because our 75,000 obviously isn't gonna be enough, so you would have to be going elsewhere. And I have offered, if you need some hints as far as what grants and that kind of thing to go after, I would certainly like it all.
I do have 2 more letters of support as well from
Whatever you wanna see this, there's only
St. Ansgar
2 pages you really need to look at.
schools.
That and the next.
Okay, but you've got a good start here.
Mm-hmm.
I do also have 2 more letters of support. I know you received Lindsay's letter, but I have one from St. Ansgar Community Schools as well as St. Ansgar Economic Development.
Thank you.
anything else that they would like to bring up about this? Pretty quiet in here.
I have a question. So how many children is Osage daycare licensed to hold at one time? Not how many they serve, because they can't all be there at one time. Do you know that?
I just have averages. Like, I'm sure that what she gave me for information was on average what they have there in a day.
Thank you. In answering Summer's question, at the time of the proposal for the Osage daycare funding, they cared for 60 to 80 children on a daily basis.
And St. Ansgar's licensed for 78.
And they currently serve 80 families at the time of their proposal.
They're up to 110 families now, on average.
That may be partially because of their larger funding. You know,
Correct.
they got the 150.
Well, I think it has to do with population probably too, though.
Well, they were bigger before,
Right.
you know, they had an option
Yeah.
more before.
Crystal, did you have a comment?
Actually, it was just answered, I was gonna ask what the percentage for growth for Osage was from the time it started to what they currently hold.
Yeah, I don't have the statistics as far as when they started, I just have what it is today.
And Megan, you have theirs from their proposal.
I do, I have the initial proposal if anybody would like to see that.
Of Osage's?
The
or-
Osage.
Okay, I wouldn't mind having a copy of that even, maybe before you go, I'll make a copy and give it back to you, would that be
I
okay?
do have an electronic copy.
Oh, okay.
So I guess one of my other questions is what happens if we don't use some extra TIF money to make the courthouse payment, thus freeing up the 1 cent option sales tax? What if the 1 cent option sales tax is short next year? Then what happens?
How much was it for the full year this year? Do you know?
Local option. I don't have the exact figure, but it's, this next year is expected to be more, it's gonna be around 600,000. It's been like over 500, and that's total.
Right. And
So
it has to go
70% of
for
that
other
goes to,
stuff.
yeah,
Goes for the
and
courthouse.
30% goes to your property tax.
Okay, so what would that?
And the 70% is for any lawful purpose.
No, we had 100% for any lawful purpose.
No,
We voted that in here a couple of years ago.
Who voted it?
Board of Supervisors.
No, that
Or
vote has to
whatever.
come from the public.
No, we changed that. We changed that to where 100% could go for any lawful purpose when that got renewed.
Guess I'd have to look back.
Yep, that got renewed.
Well, either way, it sounds like
The
we would
lost
we would
option.
have enough, wouldn't we, Law?
Right, Stanley, the lost option tax?
Mm-hmm. When we renewed that got changed that time.
Even if
Might wanna
Lowell's-
look into that, Lowell, but I think maybe it is 100%.
I don't recall, but no.
And even
Check on it.
if Lowell was correct, there still should be enough for that.
What if there isn't?
Well, he just said that.
Well, it
It's
goes to
supposed to
debt
go, it's
service.
supposed to go up.
What's that?
Then it probably goes to debt service.
Why would we want to have debt service when we have TIF money available?
You just asked the question, where does it go if you don't have enough? And I said it's probably gonna go to debt service.
But why would we want to use debt service if
You
we have
don't.
TIF money?
That'd be political suicide.
Well-
Sorry for using that word, but
Well, we don't wanna do that.
Well,
I have one more comment. So I didn't realize, but I also have the Osage Community Daycare, letter of request from they, and they were licensed for, their new facility will be licensed for 111. Currently, St. Ansgar is at 78, so that's 70% of what they are. just to compare those numbers.
Okay, that's just the licensing you're talking about?
Well, that's all they can have in the facility at one time.
Right, yeah.
So even if you take in more, because they're part-time, or you are not earning money on all of those students or children when you're not there.
That's your DHS limit, right?
Right, it's,
Yeah.
based on the size of the room and the amount of teachers in the room per age limit.
Well, if you want me to, I can read off the numbers that they have now. Infants, you guys had mentioned.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I think the point she's trying to make is that no matter how many people, it might be having people for a day here or there, but they're actually just licensed for 111. That's the facility's maximum value. And the daycare in St. Ansgar is a little over 70% of that right now without expansion. So theirs is 100, that daycare is 111, and this one, the one is.
I mean, that's a good point, valid point.
Yep. So if you had a different kid every day with the 78, you could have 350, 380 kids, served.
Like I said, when I figured it, I just went by literally the average of what each place is having a day for each age group.
Yep.
And we were over double in town here.
I was involved when I was the president of the board of the daycare when we went through the expansion of adding on a storm shelter and a new room, and it was, I don't know the exact numbers, the project was, because of the storm shelter, it was more expensive, but over $400,000. We did this all through fundraising and paying off the debt on our own, and we paid it off well before we needed to. We know there will be support if you want us to get proof, and I feel like it's very valuable for the community, not just St. Ansgar. We have people from Osage that attend our daycare also. So I guess I don't know if I would be happy with half as far as showing county support, but that's my opinion. I guess I would rather, if you need more ducks in a row, we will do that and come back at another time.
Comments?
I'm not concerned about.
Well, 26 years ago, I was on the beginning committee to start the daycare. They said it wouldn't go because the people had the kids in the houses and so forth. Now look what we have. We have an overflow that we can't handle everybody.
The state has really shut down.
And I just think that we're making a mistake if we don't go ahead and improve this.
Well, I guess we can wait for further information. If that's,
Sounds like we as supervisors need to come to a compromise, and it kind of doesn't look like it's gonna happen today.
yes. Bring us some more information, kind of give us a deadline or a timeline as to what you want to start, what you want to do. And we'll see in the future what we can come up with.
So a dollar amount of what the project would cost?
Just, kind of give us an idea of what you got going. Timeline. If you can.
And I would like to think that your approval of the 150 today would give us that catalyst to move forward right away. And so this is going to, without that, it will take longer to get started on this project. I'd be happy to gather that information for you.
Poll the supervisors. Stanley, you would be 450,000.
Yes, I would.
Barb,
would you be for $150,000?
Not 150. I would like to see a compromise there.
I would not be for 150. So, we'll have this,
What would you be willing to give, Steve?
and again, I wasn't really for Osage's. I went along with it. I went along with Stacyville's because we promised X amount of dollars. And being that we gave Stacyville money that we shouldn't have, we probably owe you, the community of St. Ansgar, some money. I would go along with Barb's 75,000. So, at the moment.
I got one more statement, I'm done. I think you approved Osage $150,000 without any question. And now you said you'd support St. Ansgar if it came up, the need came up. And now you're kinda going back on your word. That's where I
Whose word?
pardon me,
Whose word?
the board's word.
I went along with something.
I wasn't here then.
I went along with something because I was my first day as supervisor.
I understand that, but the board said.
My next offer is nothing.
A quick request, I guess, would the board be willing to approve that 75 up to the 150, depending on what information comes back? As the project gets,
I wouldn't say that today.
I would not say that
Not
either.
today. I wouldn't want to make that kind of promise.
I can honestly say that an offer of 75,000 is better than nothing.
I don't feel like that's a fair calculation, if you are honestly looking at the numbers in the daycares, comparing it to Osage. If St. Ansgar is 70% of what Osage holds.
But I know you're 70% as far as what can come in, but as far as what's in, you're not 70%. What's out there on
I don't
average?
understand how you are
Okay,
getting your
well,
calculation.
okay, like, you guys have 11 infants. We have 16 to 20 every day. 1-year-olds, you have 8, we have 18. You have,
But you're
not-
only licensed to have 111 in the building at one time.
right,
We are licensed for 78 at one time. So there may be kids that come in the morning only, and then another kid comes after they leave. That doesn't mean you're getting paid full day. for all
well,
those
and
kids.
Osage can say the same thing. That, I see what you mean, you're just talking about what is licensed, okay.
Yeah, because that's the
I don't know
limit,
if that's-
the limit of
I don't know if
kids in
that's a
that
fair
building
way
at
to-
one time.
Well, if we went that way, then I would, if we did, I would be more willing to compromise to 100,000, but still not the 150.
So when the $150,000 was requested, was that just requested from the daycare? Were they requesting more, or was it an open request? And they
That's
just,
before my time, you need to,
and they just, when they came forward, did they just ask for did they ask for a certain number? Or did they present their information to the board and it was granted that at a percentage of the total project?
They basically, if I recall correctly, they said that they were 10% short. They wanted 150,000, and that was basically the information that we received. There was not
there wasn't there weren't criteria set forth
No.
where we were at, where they were
No.
asked to provide exactly. They were fundraising a certain amount of money and they were short, but there wasn't an analysis of exactly what
That is
that dollar
correct.
amount would go towards.
That is correct.
Tony, did you have a comment?
Not being here in the original discussion either, I just ask Jessica that the Osage daycare did not utilize our construction money, our construction incentive money. And so, again, I can't promise what my board would say, but perhaps we could make up the shortcoming for the 50,000 with our incentive money for construction. That would get up to the 150. If you went with the 100, we went to the 50, that would get the 150. Since Osage daycare did not use ours,
That's a great idea.
that wasn't counted in that.
And those funds have to be used
And
towards construction.
Reconstruction, right.
That would be okay, wouldn't it?
They're awarded at the end of, they're awarded at the completion of the construction activity, that amount is awarded.
Yes, that has to be applied for at the
Yep.
beginning.
Yep, and then it's just awarded at the end of lump sum. Yep.
Is there a timeline, like when?
It's 1 year for completion, but I don't think we've probably encountered one of this magnitude. You know, that's something I'm sure we could bring up.
Are they eligible?
We were talking about it just briefly, I can't see why not.
It was a nonprofit, that's what Osage didn't do it at that time.
Yeah, I don't, there's nothing in our guidelines that say that all it is for construction incentive.
Sure.
I don't see why it couldn't. And whether they didn't before, I just think it's worth looking into. Looking at the guidelines, I don't see why we couldn't.
So, is this something that,
Again, I can't promise the rest of the board, I'm just saying from my reading of it, that maybe it's a way of bridging the gap and to make the 150 that would ultimately come from the county to make this happen.
And how much could they get up to?
50. Because it's
Well, I said I would be
maximum of
willing, I would be willing to go up to
$250,000
100.
Well more than that.
is that a motion? Is that-
I would make that
It
as a
is.
motion, yes.
What was your motion?
That, we would give 100, now, 100,000, but this will have to wait. We don't have it right now,
And this would be,
but we
With-
could guarantee you will get it.
so like a pledge? This would be,
Yeah, I guess it would be more of a pledge at the moment.
To be paid next
Yeah.
year, in the 2020 calendar year.
Correct.
I guess we don't need to add Tony into that because it's a pledge of 100,000, so. Do we have a second?
And where would these funds come from?
The local option tax.
And what if we are a little short on the 1 cent option? I still would rather make the payment this year. Total TIF money would free up the 1 cent option sales tax, so we'd have plenty of money.
Well, this is where, we're trying to get people to come in December for the next year, instead of doing this all throughout the year. We need to get something set that we encourage people more, that they come at the proper time.
I understand
So
that,
we
but
can budget all
what
this
happens
out.
come the 1st of July next year if we're short on the 1 cent option sales tax?
Then we'll have to figure something else out, because we pledged it.
Because we have the ability right now to make sure that we would have it by utilizing TIF. I don't understand that.
And we can keep that in mind.
I don't understand that. I will second the motion, but I sure am not happy with how we're going about this, I'll tell you that.
Roll call. Barb?
Well, you gotta have some discussion.
Oh,
Yes, discussion. Any comments, please? If none,
Well, you know, I've mentioned this many times at board meetings. 2 years ago, we had the ISU economist come to the breakfast, the farm, town and country breakfast, explaining that Mitchell County was one of 2 rural Iowa counties that continue to grow. We were doing things right, is what Dave Swenson said, and we should keep it up. We were progressive. Last year, the same thing. We had a different economist from Iowa State. He said, we are one of 6 rural Iowa counties that continue to grow. One of 6. We were doing the right things. Being progressive is not a bad thing. We are actually looking out for the future. Quite a bit of what we do, it won't benefit me. I'll be pushing up daisies. But it's going to be benefiting your kids and grandkids. That's what part of we have to do, is look out for the future. Being negative is not part of that. I want to be on record of that. Being negative is not part of it. End of whatever. Thank you.
okay. Roll call. Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smolik. Nay. So, it is passed. You have a $100,000 pledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Moving on. Consideration of commercial construction incentive program request. Tony, I would assume that you get the floor.
This is the latest request for funds. This is for a commercial building for the Mexican restaurant to be built across from Randy's. Passed our board unanimously, and so just bringing it to you for final approval.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this? If not, do we have any motions?
Also move.
Second?
Barb has made a motion, Stanley has seconded it. Roll call. Barb.
Aye.
Stan.
Aye.
Smalley. Nay. So that has passed.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Consideration of sending letter to the Iowa legislators on mental health. And
I gave you
we
guys a
have that
copy.
in front of us. I'm not too thrilled about reading all of it, but I can, Barb.
I can briefly, County Social Services, which is, we're in a 22 county one, I'm on that board, and the legislation has been passing, the state has passed mandates that we, as County Social Services, are to now cover mental health for children, of which we've always wanted to do, but they gave no money with it. And also, they mandated, we have a new mobile crisis type thing for mental health, and which we're all for too. Again, it was mandated with no money. And so basically, we're sending a letter to our legislators, and I just want the guys to pass their approval, so I can send it.
I have read it. I believe you've done an excellent job of writing this up.
If you need anything like that, it's up to you.
Stanley, do you have any comments?
Not on that, but going back to item 7, I realized we just passed it in that, but was that piece of property part of the urban renewal?
You want me to grab Tony quick?
Yeah, because if it's not part of the urban renewal, we cannot utilize it as,
I guess I assumed that it was.
well, I don't know that.
Lindsay would know, he owns it, right?
No, you're talking about the Tres Amigos.
Oh,
Trace Amigos.
Here in Osage.
yeah. Excuse me. I was thinking, well, it would work the same on that other too.
Talking about that, what you got?
Is that piece of property part of the urban renewal?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We double check.
All right.
That's all we want.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
piece by the piece by daycare, We Saints Daycare, that's what you're wanting to buy, that's part of that urban renewal too, correct? Wouldn't that be?
Oh, she probably
To be
doesn't know.
part of that,
But Tony will be able to help you with that.
Okay.
because if they. Anyways, getting back,
I think we'd have to double check, but I do think we put that in as part of the urban
Yeah,
renewal.
I think
I
you're
asked
right
Tony
too.
a few minutes ago, he said yes.
okay,
So, what do you guys think? Are you okay with me
I
sending
think
this?
it's excellent, you did fine,
That'll be fine.
Okay,
so.
I don't know if you need a motion or anything, but
No,
it's for you to sign.
Consensus.
I think it's just consensus of the board.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
Good.
it's great.
all right, thank you. And then after Stan
You
signs
want me to
that, give it,
sign below my name or to the,
yeah, wherever it fits. We'll follow your lead. And then I'll take care of getting that to the legislators.
Stan?
Thank you.
Moving on, approve the VFW Post 7920 liquor license renewal.
Everything is in order.
Also move.
Second?
Barb has made a motion, Stan has seconded, roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smollett, aye. Items of note, meetings attended.
Okay. These are the new regions. Actually, they're going to be called areas now instead of region. Not sure their reasoning behind that. I went to an Iowa workforce, almost 5 straight hours meeting with no coffee, no water. We got a 10-minute potty break, and this was intense training for the CEOs, and it took place in Waterloo. We studied the new and old guidelines from the state with the change of 15 regions to 6 areas. The fast changes came about just as I thought. Iowa has not been compliant since 2014, and we have the threat of losing funds. So now they're rushing it through, and they have timelines on there that I don't see how we can possibly make. For one thing, we're supposed to have a 28E agreement, and we don't even have that. So that's gonna take a while just with your lawyers and stuff to get in place. They have pretty much, we found that pretty much all the regions have been doing things wrong. Nobody on purpose, but because they weren't informed the correct way we're supposed to be doing it. We, the CEOs, actually meet at the same time as the Iowa Workforce Development Board, and they said we don't really have to be meeting with them, and we shouldn't have to even have as many meetings. So that was kind of interesting news, because they said technically the board would be doing more of your lead work. You're just making sure that they're spending the funds appropriately. Let's see. They discovered one of the regions was spending almost up to 80% on their staff services instead of on services. When administration's supposed to be more like 10%. Now, they said there's no reason why the Mason City office should close. But then towards the end, they started talking about how we're kind of having less funds and having to share them farther, as you can see by the regions. I'm not so sure that Mason City down the road won't have to close. I don't know, I hope I'm wrong. Okay, let's see, from our, I met with, what would this be for? Oh, never mind, I better finish my Iowa workforce, I have so many notes on here. The chair of our CEOs, Corey Eberling of Franklin County, he definitely has checked into it, and he said there's no way we can do their timeline.
Corey's very sharp.
Yes, he's very detail oriented, checks into everything. He has spent so much time. I think he's gonna be amazing as our head CEO. But we have another meeting on the 25th to continue with this. And then the state committee said, well, we have no more money for training, yet only 7 of the counties were there out of the 20 in our area. So I'm like, that's crazy too, because there's so much to learn. I had a meeting with North Iowa Housing Authority Director Justin Stotts, and because you mentioned, Steve, that we needed to have appoint somebody to the head of that.
Yep.
And I know Steve and I have too many committees already, so I was gonna see if you wanted to stand, but they meet Tuesdays, the 4th Tuesday of the month. And so I did find somebody that is interested in doing it for us. If you guys want to, I don't know if we can designate that today or if we need to put that on next week's agenda. But Crystal Birch has offered to do that. And she would get paid mileage from them, I believe. So.
Would that be something that we have to put on the agenda or
Probably should.
Okay.
next week?
We'll put it on next week.
That's for our Iowa workforce.
Yeah, do you have any concerns, Stan?
Nope.
Okay.
I think
So
Crystal
most
will
likely,
do good.
I think I'm probably even gonna go ahead and tell the guy, so he can start sending you information. Let's see. Oh, you asked me for DNR, that application for taking down the care facility, to get a letter of approval from city. Well, city council is supposed to be discussing that at their meeting this week, and Rick Bowenstein is supposed to get back to me on that.
Okay.
And, let's see, I did go over for that meeting at city council with Rob Sand, the state auditor, and there'll be a press article coming out on it, so I'm just gonna leave it for, instead, I think I've talked long enough.
That's it then, Barb?
Yes, I think so.
Stanley,
I had none.
okay. I had a wellness meeting and getting to all our physicals and assessments completed. Our percentages were all met, so
Great,
that's a
that's
good thing.
wonderful.
And moving on down, our plans are to have a wellness end of the year party. December 20th, from 2 to 4 is the date. It's gonna be an open house. All the employees can come and go as they please. Attendance will be pre-approved by, road department or sheriff. They've got something going on. They'll have meat trays. They'll have some bars, something to drink, a little hot apple cider with nothing else in it. They'll have, without something else in it. They'll have a little drawing, and for those that fulfill their wellness commitment, and then they'll have 5 door prizes of $50. And you will not need to be present because anybody, such as the sheriff's department, who aren't able to come. Anyways, that will be here in this room, December 20th.
I have meetings that day, but I'm not sure what times they're at.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'll be here or not.
2 to 4, and if you make it, Barb, you
Because
make it.
they're out of town ones, so it just depends on if you get back.
And I had a meeting with Rich Linkemeyer. We went out at the county care building and stepped it off. We walked through. He found a couple items that he wanted me to check on, and I says, no, they don't have any asbestos in them. So anyways, he's going to give us a bid sometime. And the other outfit that I got in contact with that, I have not heard from them. So I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, that was my 2 meetings. Manure management plan updates.
Anders Knudsen, 5044 Highway 218, St. Ansgar. Merton Farms, 5082 Rampart Avenue, McIntyre. Mosher Ridge, 3022 400 Street, Riceville.
Okay. Now this C board appointment.
That's for the North Iowa Regional Housing Authority.
Oh, that's what we just,
I
already did.
was thinking that's what we were,
we already did with, as part of my meetings.
couldn't we appoint her with that being on the agenda?
Oh, no, that was, no, this is the one for county social services, that letter I'm sending in.
Oh,
Or
I
you
thought
talking about-
Crystal was.
Oh, the board appointment, oh, yeah.
I thought
We should be
Chris-
able to do it with
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let's go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, let's,
I'll also move that Crystal takes over the North Iowa Housing Authority. I don't know if
Committee.
they call it a board or a committee, but let's just put North Iowa Housing
Second.
Authority.
Barb has made a motion, Stanley has seconded. Roll call, Barb.
I'll give you my messy notes on it, just because it's got his, oh no, wait, I better wait till I contact him before I was gonna say I'd give you his information, but I gotta have it.
Anyways, roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley,
Aye.
Smolak, aye. So Crystal, you are on another board.
Hey, it's done.
Aren't you lucky, huh? Anyways, moving on, public comments. Do we have, everybody left? Any comment?
I guess I'll just reiterate
You
my
don't-
thanks for letting me present today, and appreciate your service.
Thank you. Anyways, with nothing else on the docket here,